Speaking of crossing borders, Tory MPs have expressed their alarm and disappointment after Rishi Sunak appeared to backtrack on his new visa rules. The government announced on the sly it's watering down plans to sharply increase the minimum salary required for people to bring a partner to the UK. The threshold will increase to just £29,000 next spring, rather than the £38,700 announced less than 3 weeks ago. Backbencher Jonathan Gullis called the decision deeply disappointing and warned it undermines government efforts to bring down net migration, while Miriam Cates, MP, said the backtrack does not bode well. Opposition parties have accused Number 10 of a shambles and chaos over how to get numbers under control, and it's been suggested the change could lead to a surge in the number of UK-based families bringing legal challenges under the European Convention of Human Rights to bring their relatives over. I find this particularly frustrating because obviously this just highlights the incompetence of the government and the actual lack of political will to stick to anything. There was no point of raising this this threshold if they weren't planning on sticking to it. But I think the bigger issue is they're saying they're really trying not to say what they should say. So the reason why they were talking about increasing the threshold, which hasn't been increased since 2012, is because the threshold before this proposed increase was £18,000, which is below a graduate entry-level salary. So it was completely unjustifiable to begin with. But also, what they're trying to sort of clamp down on is chain migration. So they really don't want to penalise the Singaporean banker who's making good money, who's bringing his wife over to the UK. They want to clamp down on the 40%, which accounts for the numbers of with regards to the increase in immigration of dependents, and that kind of chain migration is usually very common in South Asian countries, particularly India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and all of that. They don't want to say that. They don't want to say that we don't want to clamp down on this chain migration that's a net loss to the economy. We know that actually to be a net contributor in terms of taxes, you have to be earning £35,000. So anyone earning under that is a drain on the system.
But it's really interesting that you raised that.
Over 500,000 people like that.
But I think there are a couple of things about this. I mean, what a good time to bury bad news. Around the Christmas time, nobody's watching, nobody cares. No, nothing to see here. So that's the time to do it. And you're right, they're backing away from something, and also they're not prepared to say what the something is that they are trying to deal with, combined with the fact that here we are, we have all this focus, stop the boats, stop the boats, stop the boats. That gets people talking about migration, of course, forgetting the fact that illegal migration and legal migration are completely different. Keep talking about the boats and you're talking about 30,000, 40,000 people.
Almost the tip of the
which is like the tip of
iceberg.
Whereas 700,000 plus people, net migration into the country, no matter how you think about migration, that's an awful lot of people to assimilate, combined with the fact that the real migration figure is 1.2, 1.3 million, because you've got a whole load of people who are leaving. So you have this huge changeover, all the infrastructure requirements, all the paperwork and the things that need to be done, all the work that needs to be done. And I think that this is a problem with the government. Set your targets, stick to them, and also be honest about why you're doing it.
But this is the thing. Is that we have a government who doesn't believe in its own policies enough to follow through on them. And when it comes to migration, illegal and legal, when it comes to trying to keep those numbers down to protect infrastructure. Remember, this is a country, that is addicted to cheap labour and actually needs lots of these people over here to do the jobs that other people who have the rights to be here and are British don't want to do. Put that aside, this is about a government who cannot follow through and will not follow through on any of its policies on an issue that they've decided to die on a hill for. And that is just absolutely ridiculous, because what you have is exactly what's happened. Let's make a policy, big headline splash, and then really quietly we'll bury it underneath Alex Beattie and travel chaos and wham hitting number one. They're actually not going to do any of that.
You're more excited about that than anything else,
let's be honest. But the government doesn't want to follow through on these policies, can't follow through on these policies, and it will die on that hill.
And because the Home Office is not fit for purpose. They've never believed or understood or even had a clue about their own policies and what they're going to do about illegal boats, the small boats, and legal migration. Everything the Home Office touches turns to ashes.
Yeah.
And when you scribe a law, shouldn't it be based on natural law? The idea, whatever the number is, 38,700 or 29,000, if you're denying a family grouping with a child the possibility that they can't come here because of that regulation, what about if someone wants to be a housewife or a house husband, if they're not being employed? It's got to be around natural law.
I mean,
Well, you say that, but then you
contextualise-
open the doors. But then on the other hand, we could talk about it all day, but we can't.